My fiancé said, "Put my name on your house or there is no wedding." I said, "Okay, no wedding." She thought I'd fold by morning. Instead, I called the venue, canceled the caterer, and emailed her the receipts. By lunch, her mother was crying, her brother was threatening me, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing. Original post. I'm Mason, 35M. I work as an operations manager for a regional freight company in Charlotte. I make about $94,000 a year, which sounds fancier than it feels once you remember mortgages, insurance, and the fact that everything costs more than it did 2 years ago. My fiancée, Ava, is 31. She's an event planner. We'd been together a little over 3 years. Engaged for 9 months. Wedding was 7 weeks away. The house was mine, that matters here. I bought it 4 years before I met her. 3-bedroom brick place in a quiet neighborhood, nothing huge, just mine. My mortgage is $1,740 a month. I pay the taxes, I pay the insurance. I replaced the roof last spring for $11,600, alone. Ava moved in 10 months ago. She contributed to groceries, some streaming subscriptions, and once paid half for a new sofa. That was the extent of it. For months, little comments started showing up. A married couple should share everything. It's weird my future husband has a whole house that isn't mine too. What if something happens to you? Why would you marry me and still keep one foot out the door? I kept saying the same thing. After the wedding, we can talk to an attorney, do real estate planning, wills, whatever makes sense. I was never against protecting each other. I was against being bullied into signing half my house away because somebody wanted a grand gesture. 3 nights ago, that turned into the main event. We were at the kitchen table with the wedding spreadsheet open. Final vendor balances, seating chart drama, her cousin wanting a +1 for a guy she'd known for 12 minutes, normal stressed-out pre-wedding stuff. Then Ava closed her laptop and said, very calm, almost rehearsed, "I need your answer tonight. Either you put my name on the deed this week or there is no wedding." I just looked at her. She kept going. Said she was tired of feeling temporary. Said any man serious about marriage would do it without hesitation. Said if I needed legal protection from my own future wife, maybe I didn't trust her enough to marry her anyway. Then came the line. "Put my name on your house or there is no wedding." No yelling, no speech. I just nodded once and said, "Okay, no wedding." She actually laughed at first, like I'd missed the exercise and given the wrong answer on purpose. Then she realized I wasn't moving, wasn't arguing, wasn't trying to win her back. Her face changed fast. "Mason, stop, be serious." I said, "I am." She started crying, then got angry, then did that thing people do when they realize the bluff got called and now they have to pretend they weren't bluffing. She said I was cold. Said I was humiliating her. Said no one ends an engagement over one conversation unless they already want it out. That part was almost funny. I stood up, took my ring off, set it on the table beside hers and said, "The wedding's off. You can stay with your sister tonight and tomorrow we'll figure out pickup for your things." She stared at me like I'd slapped her. Then she grabbed her purse, called me a paranoid control freak and left. I stayed up another 3 hours. Called the venue first thing the next morning when they opened. Lost the $2,500 deposit there, better than losing everything. Caterer refunded 60%. Photographer kept the retainer. Florist refunded half because they hadn't ordered the specialty pieces yet. I made a spreadsheet of every cancellation, every refund, every loss. Total damage, $6840 gone, expensive lesson, still cheaper than a bad marriage. By 11 a.m., Ava had switched from outrage to panic. "You don't need to do all this." We were upset. "Take a day. My mother is asking questions. Please stop canceling things," I replied once. "You gave me a condition, I declined it. The wedding is canceled," that was it. By afternoon, her sister Kendra was texting me paragraphs. Her brother Nate left me a voicemail saying men like me deserve to die alone in empty houses. Real classy family. I saved the voicemail, took screenshots, changed the garage code and started boxing Ava's things carefully. Folded, labeled, stacked in the guest room. Quiet, methodical, done. Update 1. It's been 4 days. Ava is staying with her sister, which I know not because she told me, but because Kendra won't stop contacting me from new numbers every time I block the old one. Apparently, I blew up a woman's future over paperwork. That's how they keep framing it. Paperwork. Not half a house. Not a legal ownership interest in a property she didn't buy, didn't maintain, and hadn't even lived in for a full year. Just paperwork. Funny how expensive paperwork becomes when it benefits them. Ava's angle changed too. First it was trust, then it became fairness. Then suddenly she started talking about all the ways she had invested in the house. By invested, she meant buying throw pillows, a coffee table tray, and paint for the downstairs powder room she insisted be some beige color called oat milk or sand cloud or whatever. She sent me a Venmo screenshot for $312 and wrote, "Proof I contributed." I almost admired the confidence. I didn't argue. I just replied with the itemized list I'd already made. Mortgage paid by me. Utilities paid by me except 2 months of internet she covered. Roof by me. HVAC service by me. Property taxes by me. Homeowner's insurance by me. Sofa split 50/50, and I told her she could take it if she wanted. I even included the model number. No response for 3 hours after that. Then Nate showed up. Doorbell camera caught him first, pacing on my porch like he was about to audition for a low-budget crime show. Ava was with him, standing off to the side in sunglasses like she didn't want to be seen. He started pounding on the door and yelling that we needed to settle this face-to-face. I didn't open it. I spoke through the camera and said Ava's belongings were packed, inventoried, and available for scheduled pickup only. Nate called me a coward. Ava started crying loudly enough for the neighbors to hear, still didn't open the door. Then Nate tried the side gate. That was my favorite part, because it let me stop treating this like family drama and start treating it like documentation. I called the non-emergency line, told them I had camera footage of a man attempting to access my fenced yard after being told to leave, and asked what the cleanest next step was. An officer came by, watched the footage, and advised me to issue a no trespass warning if they returned. Report number logged. Saved that too. Unexpected twist, Ava's mother called that evening. I almost didn't answer because I assumed it would be more screaming. Instead, she sounded tired. Not angry, just tired. She asked me one question: did my daughter really tell you to put her on the deed or there'd be no wedding? I said yes. She was quiet for a second, then asked if I had it in writing. I told her no, that part was said in person, but I had the follow-up texts where Ava wrote things like, "If you loved me, you would have done it, and I shouldn't have to beg for security." I forwarded screenshots. 10 minutes later, Ava texted me, "Why are you involving my mother?" I didn't reply because that was rich coming from a woman who'd already sent her entire bloodline after me. I kept packing, finished the guest room. Put jewelry, shoes, cosmetics, and electronics in separate bins. Took photos of everything. Made her signable inventory list. I wasn't doing this out of kindness anymore. I was doing it because I could feel the next lie coming. And I was right. Update 2.5 weeks later, and this went from ugly to ridiculous. The first big move was theft. Ava emailed me saying a family heirloom bracelet was missing, along with a gold chain and a pair of diamond stud earrings. She copied Kendra and Nate on the email, which told me exactly what kind of performance this was supposed to be. She said if the items weren't returned immediately, she would file a police report and notify my employer that I had stolen from a woman during a domestic split. That was the phrase she used. Domestic split. Very polished, very strategic. Problem for her, I had photos. When I packed her things, I photographed every open jewelry tray, every small box, every pouch, every labeled container. I went back through the files, found the bracelet and chain in a velvet bag inside the gray travel case, then found the earrings in the top drawer of the vanity organizer she insisted on leaving behind because she thought she was coming back. I sent the images with timestamps. Then I attached the pickup inventory I'd already offered her 10 days earlier. Silence for 6 hours. Then she pivoted again, This time she wanted compensation. Half the wedding losses, reimbursement for emotional damages, and $18,000 to reflect her contribution to building a home life. Yes, $18,000. Apparently candles and oat milk paint appreciate better than index funds. I stopped responding directly after that and paid a real attorney. Best $1,900 retainer I've spent in years. He was a calm older guy named Brenner who looked like he'd been unimpressed since 1987. I handed him the screenshots, the camera footage, the voicemail from Nate, the vendor cancellation spreadsheet, the property records, and the item inventory. He read quietly for maybe 12 minutes and said, "She has no claim to the house. Minimal claim to personal property. And her brother needs to stop contacting you yesterday. Music to my ears." He drafted a letter. Formal. Sharp. Told Ava all future communication went through counsel, instructed her family to stop contacting me, and gave her one final date to collect her belongings. We also added language stating any defamatory claims to my employer or attempts to access the property would be treated as harassment. That should have ended it. It did not. 3 days after the letter went out, Ava showed up at my office, not at the loading dock, at the front reception desk. In a white blouse, makeup perfect, eyes red enough to look tragic but not messy. She told the receptionist she was my fiancée and there had been a misunderstanding. Reception called upstairs before sending her back. Good people. I came down, stayed behind the security door and said, "You need to leave." She started crying immediately, not subtle. Full performance. Said she just wanted 5 minutes, said she'd made a mistake, said Nate had gotten protective and escalated things, said she never meant for any of this to happen. Said she loved me and couldn't believe I was choosing a house over our future. I told her no. I'm choosing not to marry someone who thinks ultimatums are the same thing as trust. Then I turned to the security guard and said, "Please walk her out." She went from crying to venom in one breath. Called me heartless. Said I'd regret this. Said no woman would ever feel safe with a man this cold. That part actually bothered me for about 10 minutes. Then one of my coworkers sent me a screenshot of Ava's Facebook post from later that night. Vague, of course. Some nonsense about surviving financial abuse and being discarded by a man who loved property more than people. Normally, I ignore posts like that. But a mutual friend, Lauren, messaged me and asked directly if I'd really thrown Ava out after taking her money. So I sent Lauren one screenshot, just one. Ava texting, "If you won't put me on the deed, then clearly you don't see me as your wife, so there is no wedding." Lauren replied, "Oh, that was enough. Final pickup day came the following Saturday. Ava didn't show. Her father did. I'd only met him a handful of times, but he was polite, embarrassed, and very clearly exhausted. He walked through the inventory with me item by item, signed for the bins, loaded them into his truck, and at the very end he stood by the tailgate and said, 'Between you and me, the house thing was insane.' I just nodded. He said I told her that. Then he drove off with the last of it. The only things still in my house after that were the sofa she didn't want, 3 fake plants, and the silence. Beautiful silence. Final update, it's been just over 3 months now. Legally, nothing dramatic happened because once the attorney letter landed and her father collected her things, the steam went out of the whole circus. Nate sent one more nasty text from a new number. My attorney answered that one for me. Haven't heard from him since. Ava never filed anything because there was nothing to file. No deed, no marriage, no claim, just feelings and a failed bluff. She did try one last squeeze through email about a month ago, asking me to reimburse her for custom bridesmaid gifts, half the honeymoon cancellation fee, and the emotional cost of public embarrassment. Brenner replied with the same elegant version of no he uses for everything. She disappeared after that. Financially, I took the hit. Total loss came out to $83.70 after partial refunds and the attorney retainer. Painful, but survivable. I picked up extra overtime during our quarter-end transition, got bumped to senior ops manager 6 weeks ago, and paid off the remaining balance without touching my emergency fund. The house is still mine. More importantly, it feels like mine again. I repainted the powder room, not oat milk, actual gray. Got rid of the decorative signs that said things like gather and blessed and all the other words people hang on walls when they're trying to force a mood. Rekeyed every lock, changed every password, had the vents cleaned, opened the windows, sat in my own living room one Sunday morning and realized I wasn't bracing for anything. That was new. As for Ava, the updates reached me the way they always do. Through other people pretending they aren't bringing updates. Apparently, she's telling the story now like I panicked over commitment and abandoned her right before the wedding. I'm sure that version plays better than I demanded half his house, and he called my bluff. Her mother texted me once about a month ago, just one line. "You did the right thing. I'm sorry for my family. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just replied, thank you." And that was enough. A friend set me up with a woman named Elise a few weeks back, loan officer, smart, funny. The kind of person who asks normal questions and accepts normal answers. On our second date, I told her the short version of why my last engagement ended. She stared at me for a second and said she wanted on the deed before the wedding. That's wild. Exactly. That's the whole lesson, really. When someone makes love sound like a legal hostage situation, believe them. When someone turns commitment into a test you have to pass by surrendering your judgment, don't negotiate. Healthy people talk. Unhealthy people corner. Ava didn't want reassurance. She wanted leverage. She wanted me to prove devotion by making a decision that only benefited her and exposed me. Then she wanted me to feel guilty for protecting myself. No, the quiet answer saved me. Not a speech, not a fight, just okay, no wedding. That one sentence probably saved me years of misery and a whole lot more than $83.70. And honestly, cheapest piece I've ever bought. If you think Mason handled this right, tell me in the comments. And for more stories like this one, like the video, subscribe and stick around for the next update-driven mess.